to meet you, Alexandra.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. I'm excited about this because I don't know, I like sharing.
Of course, you're the 35.
Exactly. I was thinking about that earlier. Like, is this an adventure for me? And the answer was definitely yes. So,
Do you feel the excitement in your belly like I have right now?
well, it's not just in my belly. That's the thing. Because I'm a sacral, I think I can make the difference between when it's like energy building up and when there's excitement, it's just, it goes over the gut, you know?
Right, cool. Well, I have the 35, just for you to know. I have the 35.4 in my south node. So it's where I have been, and I'm transitioning right now to the fifth gene key. So I'm really feeling that transition the last year. But now, being in this 35 and going in with you and this adventure, you're the first one I speak to. I have these, this excitement of a little bit of, being a little bit scary, like, oh, what's going to happen? It's excitement because, I just love sharing, like you said, and bringing this Archetype Akasha to everyone, for everyone to visit, to be recognized, or to hear something new that they haven't looked at, bring the wisdom from the archetype to other people to assist them. But also the excitement of, like I said, being a little bit afraid of, am I doing it right? Is there a right way? Don't I forget anything? Do I have the skills? Because I don't have the 16. Do I have enough skills? So I feel all that.
I get that.
So welcome again, Alexandra, 35.3, Archetype Akasha.
Yeah. Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm excited about this. I do feel like this is an adventure because I do feel like I don't know what's going to happen, but I know everyone's going to get something out of it. And I think that's what adventure is for me. Like going over not your boundaries, but like stretching them, not going over them. I think that would be more correct. Yeah. And I just love it. I'm glad to be here. Yep. Thank you.
Glad to have you. You're so welcome. And you brought in exactly the feeling that we were sharing just a little bit before, of overstretching yourself. The adventure is feeling the excitement of, do I dare to go in? Do I want to go in? And then wanting to stretch yourself to make that choice to go into the adventure, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I'm just jumping into one of my challenges here because you brought it up. It's like when I go in, I see the possibility of the adventure, right? And because it's an opportunity, I'm a 4/6. I love opportunities. They're everywhere. You too, great. Okay. And then I think that the challenge is right there because it goes to my mind. Like my head and ajna are defined. I want to know what the progress is going to be, right? Like, what am I getting out of this? What will I be able to do with this? And then if I get stuck there, then I don't know, I get stuck, period.
And you get stuck in the mind because of the way you think about the adventure, the expectation of the adventure.
I think I was contemplating this the other day because I've had like 1 month where I felt stuck in my head, right? And I tried to like dissolve that into little pieces to try and find out what the heck is it. And I think that I try to plan the adventure. It's like, because I like planning things, right? I love details.
Of course.
So I try to plan the adventure and I go so far off in my head planning it that I don't do the first step.
Second that. I recognize that with my 35.4. And so when you think about that now, because we are talking a bit like the shadow, the gift, and maybe the city. Are you able to make that leap of then going into the first step, going out of the loop of the mind?
Yeah and no, sometimes, I guess. Which the thing that I kind of love about the first time I started to look into Gene Keys and human design, obviously I wanted to do everything perfect, right? I always want to be the gift. And then I said, well, that would be boring, wouldn't it? Because it's always a play between the shadow gift, and luckily sometimes the city shows up, right? Yeah, so I guess I will never be able to say that, yeah, I'm just in my gift ring with frequency, because as I see it, it's a line 3, but I'm on also a 4, like my profile. So it's always going to be based on who I'm with, what opportunities I have. And then maybe I actually think that the shadow is useful sometimes.
I feel the same.
Source of everything, maybe. So it's always, always exchanging, always evolving. I don't know. It's not something that's linear.
Right. Something it has a feel about it that there's nothing wrong. There is no good or bad in it. Not even in the shadow. The shadow challenges you to the gift, I feel. And I think you feel a bit of the same when you explain that to me.
Yeah, when I see hunger now, I get excited. Like, ooh, something's coming.
Something juicy is coming. What's in it?
Exactly. And I also obviously recognize it in other people. And that just makes me like excited for them. Something's gonna happen.
And not knowing the outcome, maybe. That's the excitement as well, right? You have not an expectation, but is it agitation? Yeah, no, not agitation. Wrong English.
Excitement, I think, would be the right one. Excitement. I mean, energy building up.
Right.
Right? That's how I feel. Yeah. And then, I don't know, hunger, I mean, for it, sorry, it showed up in my life, both in the reactive and repressive form. Right? I think that most of my childhood, I've been like in the repressive form. Like I'm a 4/6, right? And I was in my trial and error period until like 28, until, no, 28, 30, whatever. And then I was supposed to have a lot of experiences. And with the 35, with the hunger and everything, I would have said, oh my God, this was a crazy period. But no. I was I don't know, sometimes I say boring, but that's because I like to provoke with words. I need to try something. I need to find something else. I was well behaved, I think. I would very rarely go and, go the extra mile. I would always take into account, I don't know, that I want to bring in the 32 now, because that's my personality sun. So you want adventure, but I want adventure, but I'm going to fear that I'm going to fail at adventure, if that's even possible, right? So I kind of choose not to do much. And then at some point, I'm sure hunger showed up in some ways, but it was always repressed. And that is one of the reasons, I think, that I don't really remember much of my childhood, right? Only like little bits and pieces. And then now, I think I've been through everything, even hunger, like, shopping for shoes and clothes all the time, trying to fill something in, like we all do.
Recognize that as well.
Yeah. And I've been through all of the stages, I think, and they keep coming back, right? They're always coming back in a different form. And based on where I'm at that moment, I either drop into the shadow, because I am trial and error, right? Sometimes I just drop into the shadow.
That's okay.
Or I can go to the gift. Yeah.
You get to choose the way you enter yeah, the adventure or the boundlessness even of it. Right?
Well, I think once you're on the adventure, you catch a glimpse of the city. It's it's right there. Even maybe if you don't, I don't know, embody it. I don't know. We can. I don't know. I'm a skeptical.
I think it's something about recognizing the boundlessness when you're in the adventure. It's like being in this
Yeah.
storm and then not knowing that you're just flowing with that storm, and that makes you just flow all the way. And then
Yeah.
afterwards, maybe you get to look back like, oh, I was really boundlessness. I just went in, did it, done it, got the t-shirt.
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel about it. It's like at some point when I started looking into the gene keys, I was just looking at the shadow and the gift because I said, well, I kind of like this world where I am right now, and I like the juiciness of the human life, right? So let's leave the cities for the gods.
Human.
Yeah.
I feel it. Yeah.
But it always shows up. You can catch a glimpse, and the way you describe it was perfect. That's what happened. Sometimes you just realize it was there afterwards, after the experience.
You get to reflect back. I feel that's also part of the 35, reflecting back after the adventure. What was it for me? What did it bring me? Did it give me just excitement, or did it give me wisdom? Because sometimes, the adventure is not, you can label it like a good experience or like something that really hurt you, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but there's always something in it to gain from it, even if we label it like an experience that wasn't desirable because it hurt. But because you can look at it in a way that it just brought you some wisdom, that's the juiciness I feel of any adventure. Do you agree?
See, I didn't realize until later in my life that the 35 has been like very good body of mine, because I never looked at conflict as something that has to be I don't know, bad. I think conflict can bring you exactly that wisdom. It can bring you progress. It can bring you knowledge, whatever. You can always find something in conflict. So even I like long-term relationships, right? That's what I've been doing my whole life. And people think that in relationships, you shouldn't be fighting. Some people that I've met along the way, right? And I was like, no, I think fighting is good. You're going to get something out of it. And I never looked at failed relationships, for instance, as something wrong, because I always got something out of it. I always grew. I don't know, was enriched by it. So I think I didn't know that was the blessing of the 35, but I think it is. It is now.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. When I look back, with my 35, that's the beauty that we both have the 35, right? And both 4-6. I really relate to that. When you look at any relationship, friends or love relationship, and even the ones that really hurt, because I had a relationship for 3 years with a narcissist. But when you're in that adventure, you second that, you're in that adventure and you go like, why is this happening to me? The drama of the hunger, the drama of all the searching within yourself. Who am I? And what am I? What is my self-value? Well, I have your chart over here. You have a defined G, but I haven't. So it was always about, searching for the love. Why am I not lovable? Why can't they accept me? What am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? That's what a narcissist brings, right? At the point that you get this realization, this awareness of like, hey, I'm not the one that's crazy, but he's the one that's crazy. You just flip it around and you find the strength. But if I did not have that relationship with this narcissist, I would have never found my inner strength. So I am so grateful for that person to be part of my life's journey.
Well, let me tell you about mine a little bit, right? It started just as I went on the roof. And guess what? That's when all the experiences started to come in. I started actually acting like a bit of like a 3, right? When I went on the roof. And I did so many things that people do like in their high school period or whatever, but they started happening when I met him. And then because I was doing so many things, I had a lot of questions, and obviously I was always to blame, blah, blah. Anyways, it got me into a place where I needed to find answers. And that's where everything started for my, I don't know, my development, my personal development about who I am, what I like. Is this what I'm hearing actually about me or not? So, and every day when I come to a place where I'm grateful for who I am right now, I do go back to that relationship and I said, wow, I am so happy that happened, as hard as it was, because I am who I am today and I'm the best version of me. And it would not, I don't think it would have happened otherwise. I think it was, exactly what it was supposed to be for that time. So I love it.
Yeah, yeah. What I find so cosmically funny is that when I hear you talking, I hear the exact same contemplations that I have about the 35 and the way I look back at my life and all the relationships and all the adventures that happened. Most of them were in relationships because I have the 36 on the other end. So it really has to do with the emotional wave. But it's funny to me to hear, beautifully funny, that you experience it the same way.
Yeah, I like that. And I like sharing it with people because it always, I don't know, it brings something more. Like my story, when I tell my story to people that have similar experiences, they get something out of it. It's like they click somewhere, and it happens the same when I hear someone else's story. So that's why I love this project that you guys are doing. It's just exactly what people need, I think.
I feel the same. It just popped in my mind and I shared it and with Ashley, and we discussed it, and it was born. I really felt the call with the 35, starting with the 35, like, yes, this is the adventure that needs to be brought to the world because of the wisdom of the living archetypes. Like what we are sharing now, we see the similarities throughout our experience. And that way people can recognize, oh, that's the 35, not just from the words from Richard or Ra, which are kind of mystical and poetic. And that's a frequency. But the living archetype is the real frequency, the lived frequency, where people can pick up and take something with them. Yeah.
Examples are magical, I think. That's where everything clicks. Yeah.
And maybe that comes from the 35 being the example, or the 46 being the role model. Sometimes, don't you find it sometimes even hard to relate back to a particular gene key because sometimes it just becomes so interwoven? Or
exactly, I was walking home this morning from the coffee shop and I was exactly contemplating this. Like, I know I'm going to talk about a 35, but can I talk about a 35 without bringing in the others? That was my question. It's like, I don't think so. I don't know.
No, it's all the parts together, and we're just highlighting the 35, which is now the main character of your story. But of course, there are all these other archetypes, these parts of you that work along on the adventure that give you the certain specifics of the adventure, right?
Exactly.
And also because I have your chart over here to bring some details for the people that are listening back. You have it in your Venus, design Venus, and in the gene keys, you have it in your SQ. And Venus is about set your values, influencing how we interact with each other and what we value. Venus represents our personal morality, which determines how we relate on an individual and communal collective level. The qualities of Venus are associated with beauty, grace, and aesthetics. The values located in Venus become law in Jupiter, and retaliation takes place through Saturn. The Venus theme in our life is described by the gate, the 35 in your case, and more specifically by the line that is activated. So the 3, like you said, the trial and the error. And then it states, how do you attract things, situations, and people into your life? Venus rules our sentiments and what we value and the pleasure we take in life. Grace, charm, and beauty are all ruled by Venus. Through Venus, we learn about taste, preference, artistic inclinations, and what makes us happy. So when you relate at 35, do you feel anything really relates to your Venus or your SQ?
Well, I also associate Venus with relationships, with how we interact. And I've been noticing lately that I kind of bring sort of an emotional adventure to other people without even realizing it sometimes. I mean, the 35 goes out of the throat and to the emotional, right? So it's expressing something. And sometimes I am, I don't know, having a conversation with friends or something, and I just blurt out something that it just pops in my head and I go, bloop. And they go like that, right? They immediately go into, we could call it adventure or crisis. I don't know, whatever. And it can be like that. It shows up and I say it out loud, but I can also bring it in. I know that my word can cause something in the other. It can be a crisis if they freak out, or it can be an adventure if they go, I don't know, and discover what that means. But I can bring it in to other people or serve it up on a plate sometimes. And you can see my face. I get so excited about that. I like moving things, right? I like getting people off their ass and moving into something. And it makes me happy. And I think it also brings value to them and to myself. Discovering something new, having a new experience, it's always going to bring value. It's always going to bring value. I love that.
And when you do that to people, when you you blurt something out and you spark something in them, it triggers something, right? It brings them into this adventure. They have to look into themselves, I feel, searching for an answer, searching for that emotion that triggers it. And when you get in a discussion, or just people just go like, I don't want to talk to you anymore, or how does that go?
It's a wide range. The good part is that blurping things out usually happens with close friends. They already know me. Most of them actually study human design or know about their design. And I let them know, guys, I'm going to do this to you. Maybe I want to do it, or it just happens, but this is going to happen. And some of them are ready to ask questions. And then we do go into conversation. I have this one great friend, open-headed Ajna, and I'm closed, right? And she's like, she says she doesn't know anything, right? Because she doesn't know what she knows. And then we go into the conversation because of the crisis that I started, and we just, I don't know, it's like a universe exploding, and then I structure it, and then she comes and explodes it again, and then I structure it, and it just goes on and on into an adventure because of the small, I don't know, words that got in. But there are others that get frustrated. I have younger friends, let's call them that, because they're more impulsive. I tell her things, she gets annoyed, and then it's usually by text. And then when, I don't know, a day later or a few hours later, she comes back and she says, I know you're right, but I don't like it. Let's talk about it. It's like,
wow. Yeah, and because you have in your unconscious as well. So like when you say you're blurting it out, you're not conscious that you're doing it. Well, you know somewhere that you are going to do it, but you don't know when. You're not thinking about it, of doing it. It's an impulse that something needs to be ignited in someone else. Go somewhere.
I used to be scared of that when I was younger. Kind of just popped in my head. Thank you for that. I didn't understand what I was bringing to them. and why some of them had reactions that I thought were about me. So I took it kind of personal. And then it would just cause a lot of distress when I didn't understand it. That's the thing. And that's what I love about the Gene Keys is that it brings you awareness. That's what I feel. It's not, I just keep finding different pieces about it of myself that I can rewrite.
Right.
Like all of the anxiety that it would have caused when I was younger, all of the fear, maybe it just gets it has a different flavor. I'm not trying to get rid of the anxiety or fear now. It just shows up, and I said, "Oh, what do I need to pay attention to?" Right? Yeah, and that's part of the adventure. That yeah.
Did you ever fear any adventure that you just unconsciously entered? That you were not suddenly aware, okay, I'm in this adventure and now what? And I'm feeling all this fear or wanting to get out or...
So I think I want to say that adventure just is not just going and jumping off a bridge. We're not talking about that here. We're talking about everyday things. And this weekend, for instance, I left the house on Saturday evening to meet some friends, and I got home this morning, right? I didn't know an adventure was coming, and then I kind of smelled it, and I wanted to try and figure it out. That's the first thing that I want to do. I have the 62. I want to know the details. I want to describe it. I want to define it somehow. And I caught myself doing that. And that was so good. And I said, no, thank you. Let's see what happens. And it was a great weekend. See, I got home this morning. Yeah, I was able to just shut the mind, give it something else to do, I guess. I don't shut it down. I can never shut it down. I can give it something to do. It's just, it never shuts up, but I can make it look at how are things going? How am I feeling? Do I want to do something else? Do I have energy for this? How's my body adjusting to the adventure? You know, I make it look at things that are valuable to me. Awesome. And that's what I did last night. And I was a great success. Yeah.
You really, wow. Yeah. You, with your defined head and ashna, and, you know, always being active. And then you'd say that you just gave it something to do, like be the observant, register what happened, and
exactly.
in a file. And that's, you know, co-creating with the 35, like, okay, let's type it down, what this adventure is all about, not labeling good, bad. No, I observed this. Okay, this happened. Da, 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 da. Okay, this happened. Da, da, da. And then, perfect. How beautiful that you brought that in.
Yeah, I love that.
And seeing the relationship now, even with the boundlessness, because you gave your mind something to do and they co-created, you could go anywhere. It was all about having the journey, with no expectation, but with excitement, and being able to enjoy anything that would confront you.
And see, because you said excitement, I need to bring in the 42, which is celebration, which is my grounding, right? It's yeah, it's like everybody played together this weekend. And just because I decided to go on the adventure and not analyze it before I go on it, everyone joined the party. And when I say everyone, I mean the spheres, of course, and the gifts and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said a little bit in the beginning, it's all the archetypes going along with the adventure and having their part to play. I think that's what you really brought in now, is that every archetype in your design got to play their little part in the 35, being the 35 being the leader in this case of the adventure, like, hey, let's go on this adventure, and you go do this, and you can do this, and have some fun, because what you bring, your gift, is what will experience its own adventure, its own happiness, what makes the other archetypes happy. For the mind, it is, registrate and, and just observe and just write down what just happened and give it in a file or a label or something else. And 42 say, having the celebration, just celebrate, be at the party of the adventure and celebrate. I love that. Beautiful.
Yeah. And it's contagious. I mean, celebration is contagious, which is, the frequency of it. And I love that. It always goes to the other person. That's what we're sharing here. That's what I feel you and I are sharing right now.
Exactly. Yes. And the transpersonals being in the 4-6 and the personals being in your third line and the trial and error, and then your 4-6 can bring it to the others, right? To be in that. Yeah, how beautiful.
That's kind of, sometimes this is why I go into adventures, is because I don't know what I'm going to get, but I know that someone's going to use it at some point. The information, the experience that I have, someone's going to show up at some point and I'm going to be able to share them and they're going to get something out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, like you shared before with even with the relationship with a narcissist, what we've learned from it is our own self-value and our strength, right? And when you enter or you meet someone who comes to you with like, I have this boyfriend, and you can ignite that strength and empowerment to the other person just by sharing your story, like shifting the way they should look at the relationship and and how they can gain from it. Or to get out of it, or to, you can't change the narcissist, but we can try, but it doesn't happen. But they are there for a reason. And when you are able to bring that to someone, that's the value of sharing your story with the 35 of your life's experience, right? And when I think about, the 35 is not only external, it's also the internal hunger and adventure. When I think about that, there are some things related to it, like you already said with the shopping. I was a shopaholic, so I can agree on that one. But also, I hear people talking about the food. Well, I can confirm that as well. I have experienced as well. That's something inside, wanting to filling a void. And we've discussed a bit that how it may be related to our open centers. When you think about that part of the adventure, is there anything you feel like that is the adventure was inside your body, what you experienced or how it felt, or did you experience a void inside? Maybe you wanted to still with experiences?
Well, I'm going to go back to the last few weeks that I said I kind of felt like I was in the void. 35 one's experience is both external and internal, right? But I don't think that you have one without the other. Whatever you have inside, you bring outside. Whatever comes from the outside, you bring inside. And there you go. I don't think we can split them. But last month, for the past few weeks, I was really tired. Like I had no energy. And I was like, am I stuck or am I burnt out? I don't really know. But then I figured that I kind of got stuck in my head because I wanted progress. 35 is also progress. And I started to plan my projects and I've started to try and get like things going. But I get into my mind analyzing what progress I'm going to make. And I want to jump because I'm a manifesting generator. I forget that I'm here today. This is where I start. I want to be 2 years or 3 years from now, right? And then I get frustrated that I'm not there. And I try to figure out what's wrong with me. Why am I not there? And then whoa. So I do something. I try and do something when I'm like that to get out of my head. And that's just create another kind of adventure that's easier to grasp. And what I do is I go out into the city. I put on I'm a tourist right? But I go into the city that I live in, and I just walk around looking at different buildings, and I discover different symbols and different things about the city. And then obviously there are trees and birds and the sound, and it just charges me, and I get out of my head. And then, okay, what was the first step?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But that's the tool that you use to get out of your mind loop and to go back to the
Yep.
Yeah.
Good coffee and a walk. And I use that. I play different roles in my life. Like, I don't play them because I have to. I play them because it's fun to play them. And I also choose my outfit based on the role that I want to play, right? So there's another thing that I do, not to go up in my head and try and plan everything. I started study groups with people. And at first I wanted to share the information, but that wasn't my goal. The goal was to bring in their experience and try to explain it with the Gene Keys and human design. So I had the plan for the first 4 meetings to give them the base knowledge so they can go out and experiment, right? And then I didn't make a plan for the rest of it. So obviously I want to plan it, and I want to know what's going to happen and what they're going to say and how they're going to progress. So I noticed I go up there in my head. That means creativity is blocked. So what I do, I plan my role. What do I want to bring to the meeting as, a feeling rather than information? Because I have the information already in my head. I mean, I'm a generator. You just ask for it and it just whoop comes out. So I try and stop going up in my mind trying to plan it by focusing on something fun, like how I want to do my hair, or what do I want to wear, right? Or what kind of flowers do I want to put on the table there for the smell? I bring something in that's going to give me satisfaction, it brings up energy levels. It gives me satisfaction. I forget about the actual group meeting. And then when it starts, it goes amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very valuable what you just shared.
Thank you.
And also, the funny part is, and now because of you sharing this about the part playing the role, I'm going like, hey, I have that too, and we both have the 35. So there must be a relation with the 35 that I always play the part. Not for the other, but who am I today? Who do I want to be today? Does it match with what I want to send out with the 35, in the conversation? And then this whole, like me, I prepared like with my background. I created the background. I have this set and I have that set. And I go like, oh, I want to look this way. And that's this whole creative thing, which sets you in the mood for the adventure, I feel.
Well, see, there's one more thing here that I see. You said you're going to the 5, right? You're going to gate 5. I have the 5. And I love creating those rituals out of my day-to-day life because it does fill me up with all of this excitement and with satisfaction, and I get my energy up. So maybe it has something to do with the 5 as well. I like that, taking my time and making it. It's somehow you're making your everyday life sacred by doing that. And I think that's what the 5 wants.
I feel you. Yeah, I feel the same. It's not just about the word patience, but patience means taking your time. Like you shared the ritual, like, okay, getting to this part. How can the 35 go in it in a way it's satisfied? It's not hungry, but it's just in the boundlessness adventure and setting the stage for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it.
It doesn't always work.
No, but we try.
But it is a trial and error process for me. So I embraced that, and what I love about the Gene Keys and the human design is that I look at people so differently right now because I look at myself different. I'm allowed to make mistakes, right? And mistakes are beautiful.
Yeah, perfect mistakes.
Yep. And it's part of my trial and error process. Sometimes I get stuck in my head and I see myself there, but I can't pull it out because I'm supposed to make mistakes, obviously, or experience. It's not a mistake. It's a different kind of experience.
Right.
It's not, yeah, it's not, it's basically, I think about expectations. When I go in my head and I stick to that, I cling to something, I have an expectation or an attachment.
Yeah, the mind wants to label it, right? The mind is
Uh-huh.
like the librarian. It wants to stick stickers on it, like this is this and this is that. But the 35 invites us to not label any experience, right?
Yep, exactly. But then if I bring in my 62, so my incarnation cross is Maya, which means, and I love how this sounds, it's going beyond the mind through the mind. Which sometimes it just makes me, okay. But then I get excited. I get to label everything and then move it into the abstract. That's what I think I'm supposed to do. I need to go into the shadow. I need to label, understand, and define. But then that I need to pull that up into the gift. Like my psychosis, which is like my radiance, right? Is psychosis or whatever. And I go like, why? But why? Why? Everything is why, right? But then I use that to inspire myself and to inspire others. So it's amazing.
Wow, yes, it does.
Label.
And already how you are able, to connect them and to really integrate them. Again, I go back to, I see you like instructing all your archetypes doing their perfect job and then co-creating so that you can fulfill your cross. That's what I feel with you sharing your story. It's awesome.
There's one thing I would add to that. I'm not doing it. It's happening.
You're being it.
Because I know the information and I don't try to make the connections, because when I try to make the connection, I get into my hunger and then I force things. So I need to let it happen. And the thing is, it happens like this. These stories only happen when I'm talking to someone.
Right.
They come alive because they enrich the conversation and they bring something to both people, that or whoever's gonna see the information, hear the information, whatever. It just happens. I think I wanted to say that because I think a lot of people going into this are going to want to make it happen. And maybe this is also the 5 actually speaking here, because it just happens on its own in its own time. We just get cocky and say, oh, I did that. You didn't.
Exactly. It's the ego coming in, wanting to say, it was me.
Yeah, and I say, hello, my friend, it's not you.
It was just supposed to be that way. Yeah. Yeah, I just had a thought, and now it's kind of gone, but it was a very good one. So let me think what it was. Yeah, what I also feel, and I don't know if it is related to the 35, but, being at the 35 in the throat, but sharing stories, you just triggered something in me that I also feel that there's so much richness in the 35, but it needs something to respond to be able to speak, to be able to express and to manifest the story or the excitement or any word you want to label it to. Do you feel the same?
Yes, I do. I definitely do. Because sometimes, as I said, I try and get the story out because I think someone needs it. Like, ego, hello. Yeah, it never comes out as clear and as simple as it would if they asked for the information. I also have the 3313, so I collect stories as well. And I do that consciously. I go and ask people and I just tell them, I want to know about your adventure because I'm going to put it somewhere in my head and it's going to be like a library. I don't care what I don't know. I don't care what everyone else has told you about it. I just want to taste your adventure. That's the thing. And then I just store it and it comes out when people need it, not when I want it to. It's just like, it's cold. Like,
because I'm sensing that now is that, why am I creating this Archetype Akasha? It's because I love hearing other people's story. And now you are sharing the same. So I do feel it is related to the 35, that it's not just about your story, but also just sharing the story. So listening to other people's stories, because there's so much richness in them. You can always learn from somebody else's experience.
yes.
And what comes up for me as well is like, when I hear somebody else's story, and you can say something like, you shouldn't be doing that, or you should not go there. And I go like, shouldn't I? And then I want to go experience it myself. Do you relate?
Exactly. Because you go like, what can I do different? I think there's something there.
Or maybe you can do it different because someone said, yeah, this, did and that, and then it went like this. And you go like, but maybe I can have a different experience when I do it differently.
It's always different. That's actually the 35 in the gift, right? I do the same thing, but I play a different role. I try and look at it from a different perspective, or I invite someone on the adventure with me, or the boring, whatever day-to-day thing is. As soon as I switch something, like make one little change in it, it just becomes an adventure.
And then we go into progress. We change the story. We change the outcome of the previous story. And because we change the story, we get a different outcome. And then we have the progress, right?
Exactly.
I love that. I'm looking at your chart. Your 33 and your 13 are unconscious. That's beautifully funny. I love it. Yeah. I have the 33 conscious, but only a hanging gate. So I'm very curious about that, but that's a whole other story, That's not the 35 that we are talking about. But when we think about the 35, and you just shared about your channel of the 33 and the 13, do you feel there's any story we can learn about that energy and relating it to the adventure?
Relating it to the adventure.
Experience that you have with it?
Well, let me see. The 3313 kind of makes people come to me and tell me their life story, right? So I was in an airport in the UK flying home. It was a really small airport, not too many people there, and late at night, I just went into the waiting room, sat down, got my book out, and I'm just gonna stay here and chill. And then someone shows up. She was like, what was it? I think she said 68 or something. And she said she saw me when I was going into the airport, and she knew I was going to the same country, and she wanted to come and talk to me. And like, this is where you decide, do I go into this adventure? Am I open to hear their story, right? Or am I going to just go into my mind, get frustrated, and whatever, decide.
Like, who's this lady? Leave me alone.
Yeah, like, I wanted to read my book. Why are you here? Do I want to listen to? She didn't even ask, obviously. But she was so sweet. It was okay. I said, let's see, why is she here? What does she want to bring? So she literally told me her whole life story, including with pictures of where she lives and what her grandkids do and everything on it. And of course, it kind of related to the story of my grandmother that I didn't really meet, but somehow I felt like there was a connection between their stories. And because I didn't spend too much time with my grandma, I got to spend time with her, right? Wow. And she felt good about sharing her story. So that's how I kind of looked at it. It was kind of connecting to my past, but in the present. I don't know what she got out of it, but at least she felt seen, I think.
What did you get out of it?
Me?
Yeah.
that's what I said. I just said that the trying to like, it felt like I was connecting to someone. Let me go back to this. I didn't have I didn't spend time in my life with older people. They're kind of doing their own thing, off whatever. They're maybe even marginalized, if that's the right word. I'm not sure. And I crave that now as I get older. I want to see what's there. What are they feeling? What do they want? What do they like? What was their experience? And that's what I felt I got from her. It was one of the first people that was, over 60 that kind of wanted to speak to me first. She felt invited by me, maybe. So it was like the opening of of this. And since then, I do have older ladies. I'm sorry, I'm calling you that. I don't have a better word right now. And being able to connect, like, our generation to their wisdom and to their experience. That's what I got out of it.
Beautiful. And I think you really touched the point there. Not just, I think maybe 2-3 weeks ago, I saw this video on, I believe it was on Facebook, where small children had a day with an elderly person.
There you go.
Eating cake and sharing stories, and the elder people were just asking, like, well, sometimes even big questions to children, and children, they have their whole own idea of the world, right? They're so open and so innocent, and the conversations and what they shared and how they interacted, and then backwards, they both were sort of crying, like, I want to, the children were like, I want to see that person again. I don't know the name, of course, but yeah. And then the elderly person said, my heart just lit up, and I felt this way and I felt that way. And I'm even getting chills now talking about it. I feel there is like this missing bridge between even our generation and the older generation, because we go so fast. We know we're on, like, in the 35, going on this life adventure and do stuff, but there's so much wisdom in the elderly people. And when we are open to take them or take them back to their adventure even, and then this whole new wisdom can be created. Yeah, love that. I'm gonna look at my time. Oh, we're almost talking for an hour now. Let me take a look at your chart again. If there's anything maybe we can touch on again. Line 3, it's the pleasure, adventure, and understanding. So yeah, here we go, because I feel that with your 62 and going into your mind and then having to understand what the journey and the adventure was all about. I really feel that with you sharing your stories and your experiences. And it says, it might not come as a surprise at the third line, and its core is therefore a lover of pleasure. This is the pleasure of life rather than pleasure as a distraction from life. The third line is by nature adventurous, changeable, even exotic, quixotic. It's a difficult word. Such people are buccaneers of the inner planes. As young children, we float on the tides of life with a pleasure that is self-evident. As adults, we watch the young ones with a wistful eye, wishing perhaps that our lives could once again be that simple. To be able to draw pleasure from life is a rare and precious gift. And it's the great legacy of the third lines. Wow, I now feel this bridge with you speaking to this elderly woman and giving you a glimpse of the future.
Well, it's kind of part of my plan, but I didn't really make the connection to the 35 line 3 until now. Oh. I want to connect women of different age together, and that's what I'm learning about and trying to create bridges. Well, learning about it kind of creates the bridge, right? Yeah. That's part of what I've taken on as a mission for the next, years. I'm not going to say life because things change a lot, but that's something that I want to bring in, that bridge between generations and sharing first the creativity and imagination of the children, and then the wisdom from our elders, and that thing. Yeah. About the third line, it's the 35 is adventure and the third line is adventure. And I'm going to go and say it's also trial and error. But the only error that I see is like internal, maybe. It's when I go into my head and out of my imagination, curiosity into defining everything. There is no error on the exterior. That's how I see it now. Everything that happens outside is going to teach me something if I don't stop it happening with my head.
Yeah, I feel the way you feel on the inside and the way that you think about yourself reflects itself on the outside. So if something outside has interference with what you want to experience and want to see in the world, I feel it's something inside of you that needs to change the direction or the way that you think or the way that you feel. I also feel with the 35, sharing the stories that comes up for me right now is really healing. And for me, healing is a very big umbrella with lots of tools beneath it and lots of pathways. But with the 35, the pleasure, again, bringing back the pleasure with your third line, seeing the pleasure in every sense that you have. So even if you feel pain, you know, I hit my arm this weekend really hard, exactly on a muscle. So my arm is a little bit thick. And then first you go like, oh, then why did I do that? Why was I this stupid or clumsy? And then you go like, but I get to feel this. I have a body. I can sense it. I can smell things. I can see the sunshine. I can speak words. I can share my story. And even in the sharing of the story, we can bring it in a way that becomes juicy. Like when you share how you feel, your energy gets to bridge that to the other person, right?
Yep. That's what I like the word pleasure because it triggers things into people. Most of them think about sexuality, but then I said, no, do you take time to taste your food? Right? And if you like it, do you go, and let it fill you up? And they go like, yeah. And now I do that when I'm whoever I told this to, when I'm eating with them or they're tasting something, I go, even if they're across the room, because I'm an observer, I can see everyone. I go, and then they start laughing, right? And then they remember it and then they let pleasure in. So it's pretty cool.
And what also now brings up for me is like, because I'm hearing you about the I have this sense that if I taste something, I like certain structures and I don't like other structures, but it really is important to me how something tastes in my mouth, you know, and if it gives you pleasure, or is it just maybe to still your hunger? When I go back and then we think of the word hunger and me having an eating disorder, it was like, you know, filling the void and not even tasting the food, not having the pleasure of bringing in the food and nourishing your body. But when you're eating something and go like all the way through your mouth and then through your throat and really experiencing all the senses again, the taste of the sweet and the sour and the salty, and that brings the pleasure to the moment right now, right? Have you done that all your life, that you taste? No, you really had to find it.
These are new skills acquired. And the thing is, I love that I have them now because I can share them with everyone. But no, I've never, I like when I got angry, as a child, I had an ulcer at 14, right? Because I would bottle everything up and not express it, right? And then I wouldn't eat if I was angry or frustrated or whatever, worried or anything. I didn't feel hunger. So I kind of went in the other direction. And now that I'm discovering all of these things and slowing down, basically, instead of focusing on a lot of things, I try to slow down and, you know, take my time. But I was not always this way. This is new and amazing.
Yeah, because that brings us back to know to the other part of the hunger is the starving. Bringing that in now that you just didn't even were able to eat when you were angry, when you were frustrated, and then starving yourself from the nourishment. Wow.
And I think repressing, as I said, in my childhood, I didn't really have too many experiencing. That was also repressing my hunger, and starving myself of experiences that it would have been correct for me to have. So kind of went on the other side, yeah.
And can you remember that moment when you became aware of that, maybe starving yourself when you were angry, or when you were frustrated, or even when it happens now, do you sense it and notice it and go like, okay, I'm doing it again? And then
I know. See, what I do now is when I see that coming, I try and think about something that I've had in the past that has brought me pleasure, and I have a sacral, so I can think about food, and it goes or So, so I use that pleasure that I felt before to try and find a way to get out of the starving myself. Right? Even if it's a person that I want to see, or a food I want to have, or a place I want to go, that I bring in something that I've already stored in my memory somewhere, and just try and find what would be the right fit for me at that time.
Do you feel like it's the sensation then of when you think about a person or some place you want to be or something you want to eat, you go down to your sacral and you go like, pleasure of taking it in, taking the experience, wanting to take that experience in.
Yep.
Wow. Amazing. Oh, wow. What a rich conversation that we were having, going from, I also feel like 35 goes like this and this and this, or it's just me, but I just like.
I feel the same way. It's in everything.
It's so rich, right? Is there anything that comes to mind that you think, oh, that's something I did not think of before about the 35 that really needs to be shared in this, in our Akash?
So it kind of like what I was about to say kind of relates to this. I was thinking that some of the stories that have shown up now, and some of the lessons in them, I didn't realize them, or they weren't as clear as they are now because I've shared them with you. Because I didn't think about the 35 specifically before. Right. And this was an exercise for me. And, creating this conversation actually brought clarity to what I'm actually doing and what I'm using as an antidote. Because your questions, bring things back to I'm actually doing that. Oh, that's nice. Good girl. So some of the things that I've shared today, even this one, I didn't realize that I was using, creating my role and my environment to distract me from the shadow, until I was walking home today thinking about what can I share?
Wow. I feel you. That's why I'm sort of quiet, like, so in this moment of, us doing this for the first time, this experiment with sharing, feeling the value of sharing, which is also part of 35, but also part of your 31. And let me take a look again, which others you have. The 62, sharing 35, 33, and now having or creating this container for all of us to share. And one of my quotes is, sharing is caring. And that has been like for more than 10 or 15 years, and now finally able, to express it and to bring it to our world. Well, to the people that want to watch, of course. Alexandra, I really, really want to thank you so much for your openness, your spontaneity, your wisdom, everything that you brought here to the present for us to receive. I have the second gene key in my SQ, and I feel every interaction I will have in the future for this or any other way, it's again that bridge, the connecting, the sharing, the love. It's receiving, giving and receiving, and it's so important. And again, thank you so much for this conversation.
I just want to say, I want to thank you guys for doing this, because I saw the ad that Ashley posted, and I always the same thing. Now I recognize that 35 is always with me. It's always, do I go on the adventure or not? And I wanted to share this with the world. I like sharing whatever is inside me that I don't even know about. And the fact that you guys created this, and it was somehow the right fit for me to be able to come in and be open and spontaneous. So thank you for that. You kind of created the adventure for me, and it was awesome.